Hello, can you all still hear me so that I'm not on my own?
We can hear you, man.
Okay, thank you. I'm a man, no, Ellen, noble Ellen. I'm a man. Don't mind my voice. My voice is always like that, and I've come to accept it the way it is. So when you hear
Okay,
me,
okay.
you can assume I'm a woman, but I'm a man, full-blooded man. Thank you.
I,
So
Okay, sir.
group
I,
Yes, sir.
group 10, Bolanle Fagbenro, I can see you are listening. Ogolu Abalogun and your team members, can we have you take the next 20 minutes? Let's have a quick book review, the chapter review. Hello. Bolanle Ogolua. Group 10 members, can we hear you? We've
Hello,
seen
good
you
day,
people.
sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Bolanle. Thank
Okay, I
you.
was having issues with my network before.
It's Nigeria, we understand.
Okay, good day, everyone.
Welcome.
So, we'll be taking HR organizational performance, which is for chapter 4. So, during our group review, we are able to talk about how HR enhances organizational performance and if there's any link at all between HR and organizational performance. So, according to the book, the text that we've read, there are so many studies that has been done in relation to HRM and performance, organizational performance. Though some are of the notion that there is no link at all between HRM and performance. Why there are some that said there is a link, but they are not direct. So HR policies, according to Story et al. Shows that in one shape or one form, in one way or the other, HR policy has an effect on HR practices, and in turn, which influence staff attitude and behavior, which automatically impacts on the services rendered by the employees to the customer, which as a link have an impact on organizational performance, which means that if there are solid practices in place that guide the performance of an employees, there is a link between the HR practices and organizational performance, but it might not be a direct link because these practices has a way of impacting employees in the organization, and which invariably impacts on the performance of the services they render to their customers, which also brings impact or a high productivity from the employees' end to the uh, organization performance. Though on an individual level, performance is dependent on high level of motivation, and which is required by skills and ability, appropriate skills and abilities, and understanding on the role and the role for each individual or each employees in an organization. While on the organizational level, HR practices are adopted in organizational performance, which have a direct impact on the organization, on the employees' behavior, such as engagement, commitment, and motivation. Which means that if an employee or an individual is highly motivated in an organization, maybe if probably in an employee works an extra time, take for example, an employee works an extra time, there's something that they pay, maybe in exchange for their time, they are easily motivated to do more in their services they render to the organization, to their customers. Then An organizational culture, in performance culture in an organization, culture is also defined as a way of lifestyle. Performance culture is then a performance lifestyle in an organization, which is the way HRM, like HR management, is being practiced in relation to the performance. So when an organization has a high performance culture, it denotes that the achievement of high level performance culture is a way in the life of organization. So there are ways that HR practices can ensure or improve employees' involvement, which is high performance work system. High performance work system. These are the features such as job infrastructure, which means that if an employee is placed in a particular working conditions, work tool is provided for an employee. There is motivation behind the work employee does. It also impacts on the ways at which an employee will deliver it will deliver on a particular role. And also, if an employee has or an individual has an in-depth knowledge of the role or of the task is performing, which are part of um, what's it called, HPWS, which is high performance working standard, high performance working system. Then also training also is part of the characteristics of HPWS. If there's continual training for an employee in a job that is related to in a role that is related to his job, there's a continual training for an employee. It also have a way of impacting the individual on the ways it helps them understand better the kind of task or the kind of work they are expected to do. Then information sharing. Also, if proper information is communicated to an employee, it helps them also know the job better and how ways to improve on their abilities to work, on ability to deliver on their roles. Then reward and promotion, like I said earlier, motivation, which they use an expectancy theory to also explain about this. Expectancy theory is developed by them Victor Vroom, which says that if employees is motivated, there is always a attitude that employee will develop towards it. Like for example, if an employee is working more than is earning, there's a part the employee won't be able to like deliver more. Like take for example, if someone that is taking a role of an HOD is doing the role of an HOD, but is earning a reward of an officer, such person is not motivated towards the work he or she is doing. So that cannot bring a better performance for the individual or for the employee in an organization. But if an employee is paid better, if he is motivated better, an employee will able to deliver much more than he can even deliver much more than he himself thought he can to a particular customer. Then we talked about characteristics of high performance culture, which is which means that one management define what is required and which is meant to be done. Then we discuss about provision of alternative work practices to ensure working conditions are flexible. That is, if working conditions of a particular organization is flexible, maybe it's a shift work. Take for example, in an hospital settings, there's 8 hours to 5 hours. Maybe from 8 you resume, from 8 you close by 4 or 5. Another person takes a work, another takes over such a particular role from that, like a shift work. It also makes employee to deliver better. And also, if there's like a there's I think in some particular company there's a time in international company, there's a time that they give them maybe for their, aside from break, maybe tea break. Not that one is not for lunch. It also makes them during that period. It also makes them to take this, also helps them to take their time to research on what they've done and how they can do their work better. Then employee also knows what they are expected to do because they understand the goals and objectives by the organization. Then four, there's a strong fit between job and employees' abilities. Then we talked about the component of HPWS, which is High Performance Work System, which is an appropriate system for recruitment and selection. There should be a standard as to which recruitment and selection are done, as well as training. So an HR should know when a particular individual and particular employee needs a training on the job, or when if there's a need for selection or recruitment, if there's an opportunity for selection and recruitment on the particular job or on the particular role, instead of before sourcing externally, an HR personnel should know if individual and employee in an organization is fit, because everyone has their own key abilities and characteristics they exhibit in a particular organization. So, if as part of HR job by recruitment and selection, they should know how to fit in an internal employee, that they should know an internal employee that fits in a particular before sourcing externally. Then two, we have clear job design. I've explained that one earlier. A employee should know the role, what he or she is expected to do in an organization. Then performance appraisal, a continual performance by introducing KPI, which is a key performance indicator. What are the things that indicate that this person is doing well on that job? Then for promotion and competition, if there is a need for an employee to be promoted, what are the things that are needed? What are the things to look out for? Then training and development, like I said earlier, training and development is needed for all in employees in an organization, in able to be able to key or align with the organization's vision and mission. Then recognition and reward, by recognizing an individual or an employee in an organization, it also serves as a motivation. Not everything is money not everything is money, but sometimes an employee needs to be recognized, to know that, oh, I'm doing well. Also motivate them in some certain ways. Then employee security, and also incentives, information sharing, and feedback. Then last, we talk about contribution of an HR. HR try to identify if there's a gap in between the organizational performance and an employee or an employee's and HR practices. So they need to identify if there is any gap that they need to bridge. By then, they need to explore what are the issues, what gave rise to this organizational performance. Then they should be able to disseminate information to the appropriate management in order for them to make a particular contribution towards it, and also give advices to them. Okay, these are the ways you can go about it, and what are the needs, what are the things that is needed to be done in order to give rise for in order for an employees in an organization to perform better in terms of their productivity and services rendered to the customers. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you very much, Bolanle. I'm sure you are not the only member of that group, so someone else can also take it up. And the idea really is we're beginning to get to the crux of the whole matter, where we begin to understand how things run and how certain decisions were made, why they were made, and how to measure against them. So I still want one or two people from group 10 to still say one or two things about this. Can we please? So who is coming on? Ogolu Abalogun.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Let's have your input.
Yes, I want to quickly talk about the features of high performance work system. So I have like four things listed. They have structures. Number one, they have structures that equip employees with the means to acquire the necessary skills and abilities to work effectively. For example, These things encourage workers to do more and put in their efforts. So this will make the job easier and make their goals and objectives achievable. Number two, investment. They invest in, as in organizations invest in their employees in the sense that they organize programs and development programs to ensure their employees are well equipped and more knowledgeable about their job. Investment, some organizations, they send their employees to go and do professional courses to make them more knowledgeable and make them better in such areas. Number three, information sharing is very important because communication is needed when you need a job to be done. So in an organization where there is high level of performance work system, we see that there's room for information sharing. Everybody has access to information and the information is understood properly. Number four, provision of reward and promotion opportunities such as incentives. When you are working and you know that there's something coming, something good is coming out of it, and you'll be rewarded for what you are doing. I feel everybody will also put more effort to make sure the results are achieved. Right. So next, I want to quickly talk about the components of HPS. I'll just mention them briefly. Because of time. Number one, appropriate systems for recruitment, selection, and training. That means their HR processes are very good and they are effective. Number two, clear job designs. Everybody knows their assigned roles and responsibilities. Number three, performance appraisals. They happen regularly. Number four, promotion and competition. Some organizations have a way of organizing healthy competitions within teams. This will encourage work to be done effectively. Number five, training and development. This can never be. We cannot stop stressing training and development during performance. Number six, recognition and rewards. Number seven, employment security. When you are working and you know that your job is secured, you will put all your effort into the job. Number eight, incentives such as rewards and so on. Number five, I've mentioned information sharing earlier. Then number 10, performance feedback. When they are appraising you and you get your feedback, next time see your weaknesses and your strengths and where you have to do more and where you have to balance. I think that's just all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ogolu Abalogun. And I believe that we would have more time deliberately. This program is evolving, and we have more time for a lot of these exchanges as we study and we exchange ideas and we begin to bring them to practical reality, because I realize that that's the best form of learning. Because when you hear about HRM and performance, I know the first thing everybody will begin to think about is performance management systems. But at this point, we're not talking about performance management system. We're talking about the overall impact of HR on the business. And the first question you need to begin to ask is, really, why do we really need HR in any organization? I don't know if you've ever bothered to ask that question, because every Tom, Dick, and Harry seems to call themselves HR professionals now. Anybody can just come and this person becomes director of HR. And you begin to get things done. So if just anybody can actually come into this HR space and do what we claim to know how to do, then why do we need HR? Then the question that I also ask you is, then why are most organizations struggling? If truly we don't need core HR professionals, people who understand how things are done and why things are done, why then do we have businesses struggling? The major reason it doesn't look like we have ethical issues in Nigeria is because the courts are not really active at the moment. If it is in a situation where the courts are active, if you are familiar with the National Industrial Court, The few cases that gets to the National Industrial Court, employers pay heavily through their noses because they came to realize that the National Industrial Court is an employees court, or they call it the workers court. Like 40-50% of the time, by the time you are getting to the court is already tilted to favor the employee. But the burden to now prove whatever the employee is saying beyond reasonable doubt is now on the employer and his representative. So today what we are talking about is we're talking about HR management and organizational performance. How do we establish that? And if there's anything we need to take away, the first thing, our facilitator for today somehow is having a bit of technical glitch, and I do not want to, we cannot keep the class waiting, and as a result of that, they will keep engaging ourselves while we expect that it would scale this challenge. I don't know if Franklin is on this call. Ogo, Oluwaseunara, please, there's someone on the channel, Mr. Gabriel Akomolafe. I need you to please help me walk him through. He seemed to be having a challenge with joining.
Well noted.
What did you say, please?
I said, okay, sir, well noted. I'll take it up.
All right, thank you. So while we wait for Mr. Gabriel, let's just look at a few things. One of the key words or key statements from this chapter is culture. So I want to give like 2-3 people the opportunity. Let's talk to ourselves. What do you think is a culture that can facilitate or stimulate positive performance in an organization? Everybody will say something. And at this point, I guess I'll begin to call you by name. I'll call Sammy HR. Sammy, you know yourself. What culture do you think would be good enough to stimulate positive performances or positive overall performance in an organization? Sammy.
All right, thank you very much. A great facilitator. Okay, just a quick one. One of the culture I know very well can encourage inclusive workforce. Basically, one, a competitive culture, an all-inclusive culture, not a clan culture. Like I know of organizations that really run a clan culture, more like, okay, it's my thing, it's a thing, it's a family thing, and there's a way decision run around, and some way a lot of bureaucracy and protocols. So for a healthy competitive culture where people are valued, where people's input can be appreciated. When there is a landmark achievement, people can be appreciated, and then given a platform, a leverage whereby people can have a forum to compete healthily in an environment. So that way people always try to meet up with their demands, try to see how they can get the best value of themselves, because they know, okay, if we get to the best of ourselves, definitely we'll be recognized, we'll be rewarded, and then it also can count for career growth, and also a means of satisfactions and then inclusiveness. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You came up with the word clan culture. And I'm sure we're all familiar with what a clan is. A clan is it's a small group of people who live around themselves, like it's more of a family. They share similar cultures, they share similar values, nobody challenges anybody. If you remember the first class we had, we talked about theories in industrial relations, and we talked about the pluralist theory, and we talked about the unitarist perspective, the unitarist theory, and the pluralist theory. And we said one, you don't challenge the management owns the decision making. That is the unitary perspective. But the pluralist perspective, he understands that yes, they are divergent of opinion, so he allows for a bit of democracy. And so what you have talked about here, you've talked about clan culture, but you've also moved to the democratic dimension to it to say, okay, it allows for flexibility, integration of ideas, concepts here and there. But the most important thing is for the people to feel like they are a part of the system and that the system is really working in their favor, not just that the system is bothered about what the system can get at the expense of anybody. Thank you very much for that. And I'm going to call on Elizabeth. I saw, okay. Elizabeth Olufioye. Let's hear you, ma. Elizabeth Olufioye. Elizabeth, can you hear me? I can see you on this call and you are listening. Okay, while Elizabeth is trying to unmute, probably for network issues, I'll call on Yetunde. Let's hear from Yetunde. I saw Yetunde. Yetunde, can you hear me? We will do a lot of talking from now henceforth so that this class will become more real and it will not be too abstract. Ogolua, please mute. Yetunde Akinladu, can you hear me? Okay, while Yetunde is not saying anything, Yetunde is listening, but she's not saying anything. I guess Noble Ellen, what's your response to that? Noble Ellen. I hope it's not that you people
So I wanted to
connected
talk
and want to go
about
and drop the phone. Okay, go
No,
ahead,
sir,
Ogolu.
I'm here. I'm here, sir.
Okay, Ogolua, please
okay, I
wait.
want to mention
Ogolua,
cultural
Ogolua, please let Noble Ellen talk.
in
Then
part
you
of
come
our
in.
world, we are very, very challenged. When it comes to work, giving job, they are not following the necessary recruitment process and hiring process. So they give job on who you know and the tribe you are from is all good. This
Just
also
use
will
example you
affect
can.
performance.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So that is speaking to nepotism, kind of. Noble Ellen, please go ahead.
Okay. So if I remember correctly, you asked about the
What
um
kind of culture do you
culture
think
among
will
employees.
stimulate positive performance in an organization?
What kind of culture?
Do you believe will stimulate positive performance in an organization?
Okay. I think first of all, the first approach should be like each um each employer should understand the organization's culture to start with, the values and the ethics. Then we can be able to set standards for those ethical behaviors in the organization and enforce it. And second of all, I think I would say they should create they should create an atmosphere of awareness about different cultures by celebrating important occasions there, just like just to bring in togetherness, celebrate the cultures of, if it's the Christians or the Muslims, pertaining to the kind of people that are in that organization, and provide cultural sensitivity trainings. I think that's one of the few things I can say for now.
All right. For the sake of this class, I never thought that I was going to show my face, but I guess it is good I show my face now
Show
while
your
we're waiting
face.
for
I
Mr.
never see
Gabriel
this.
so that we talk about this
He's
culture
not even the one
thing.
that watched us last week.
Okay. So interestingly, I need us to pay attention to this, that this culture thing seems to be more of an abstract thing to us than being very real. And it is good we actually talk about culture at this point, because culture is a major stimulant for positive performance in any organization. How many types of culture, organizational culture, do you know of? Okay, I need to, I'm sure you can all see me. Can you see me?
No, we can't see you, sir.
Sure you can see
Okay.
me now. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see you now.
So let's get some things very clear. What is culture? Like Bolanle and Ogoluwa described earlier, culture is a way of life of a people.
Live.
And because culture is a way of life of a people, you realize that certain things are synonymous to certain tribes, to people from certain locations. For example, when you begin to look at the way some people dress, you think that it's because they just want to be like that. No, it is because of the nature of where they came from, and which is influenced by their location across the world. For example, a lot of people just think that hijab is just fashion. But hijab is not fashion. Hijab is response to people that came from a particular part of the world where they experienced windstorm and a couple of other things. So it helps to shield, it helps to protect people. But we have accepted it as a way of dressing, and we're now exporting it as a result of globalization and the like. So let's talk about different types of culture. I know about a few, and we're going to quickly run through them so that you understand when you see an organization, the way they manage things,
This person will come.
you are able
Martin.
to quickly understand that, oh, okay, the problem here is this is how my boss thinks. And once you have an idea about how your boss thinks, it helps you to be able to take things further. The first thing is there's this culture that is called adhocracy. Adhocracy, Adhocracy. Now, it's a kind of culture that puts a focus on employees adapting and innovating. That means that it allows for risk taking, and it gives them the opportunity to take risks. This facilitates innovation. So when you find yourself in such an environment and you're the type of person that likes to wait to be given an instruction, you will find yourself struggling in that kind of environment, because what your manager expects from you is for you to come up and give me an idea. Tell me something, don't wait for me to tell you things. You must have worked around managers that begins to say, no, 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 no. What are you saying? What are you thinking? That's a corporate culture. That's an organizational culture. So if you find yourself around managers or around organizations that are structured in that way, it becomes very difficult for the person that must wait for instructions to be given to survive them. So it says organization with an adhocracy culture value innovation, risk taking, and pushing boundaries. They know that in order to really change things, they need to be daring. So you need to understand that when you find yourself in that kind of environment, you need to be a daring kind of person. Adhocracy culture. Another culture which Sammy talked about a short while ago is the clan culture. Now, the clan culture, this is an indication that they are working in a clan culture, also called a collaborative culture. You know, a family works together, right? A family is not believed to be doing things contrary to one another. Even when things are happening and you don't agree with what is happening, it is expected that you will protect, you will shield. Then when we get back, we can always resolve that. Clan culture primarily exists in more traditional organizations versus digital ones. Digital organizations can't operate clan culture. They operate more of adhocracy culture. Take the risk, explore what is coming up. This type of culture is often family owned. You realize that most of the businesses in Nigeria want to operate based on the clan culture. Daddy has spoken, nobody dares to challenge it. Now go back to your organization when your manager was trying to make a decision and you were trying to come up with innovative ideas that are contrary to what your manager has been used to or familiar with. What was the response you got? How did your manager take it there? Then, of course, we have what we call hierarchical structure or hierarchy structure, whichever one you want to call it. It is layers upon layers. It is one step before the other, or it is one step after the other, whichever way you look at it. You cannot just but go through that. And of course, you see that in a government setting, in the service, whether in the public service or in the civil service, you see that we call it bureaucracy, right? But bureaucracy is necessary for order. Bureaucracy to a great extent is necessary for consistency. Bureaucracy is necessary to a great extent for discipline. So the kind of culture your organization embraces should begin to push whatever it is that your corporate goal is. Then we have some people, they call some market culture. Now, market culture, examples of companies that are driven by market culture, you have the likes of Tesla, you have Amazon, you have General Electric. They design their structure to respond to their market, to their industry. And as things evolve, the culture, the business begins to evolve. That's why wherever you see what's his name, the owner of Tesla, the founder of Tesla, Elon Musk, you realize that Elon Musk just wants to do things crazily. He bought Twitter and he changed Twitter and he made it X. There was one organization he wanted to buy some years back too, and he was going to change their logo. And they were like, no, and all those things. So these ones are market induced, they are market influenced. Then you have what you call academic culture. See, organizations following academic culture, they are the ones that hire skilled individuals. Do you understand? And they just look for things. Then you begin to see things like they establish more of a structured kind of learning system. Just a learning corporate culture focuses on creativity, innovation, and research to drive the business forward. So academic culture is here by default. It's a learning environment. It's an environment that is driven by deeper learning. You just don't have enough. You keep learning, you keep developing, and things need to keep moving. Of course, you have a whole lot more. You have the authority culture. You have the authority culture, you have enjoyment culture. Some people, they call some. Okay, let me read something about enjoyment culture. Enjoyment organizational culture, having fun and a sense of humor. Do you understand? They learn in a fun-filled environment, in a fun-filled system. There are some organizations you get to that you actually find just a vending machine just around the corner. You can just go there, go and pick whatever you want, whether it's a cup of coffee, whether it is sneakers, it is one form of chocolate or the other. You hear them play music, you see everybody appearing a bit casual, but work is being done. So if you don't understand the kind of culture you are building, and you need to read more about organizational culture and the types of culture we have, it helps you to begin to, at the first glance, that when you sit down with whoever is recruiting and interviewing you, just by having 1 or 2, 3 statements, you can begin to have an idea about how this place is structured. That way, whatever solution you are bringing, you need to begin to tweak to make sure that it is best fit and it's not just best practice. And it is something we need to pay attention to, because you cannot have a high performing working system if you don't understand the culture you are building and you are not strengthening the culture you are building. This has become very expedient at this point. And I think we needed to talk a little bit about organizational culture, and that's why I brought it up. I hope that made some sense. Do we have any question for now before Mr. Gabriel, my Oga? Any question, please?
Please, I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, you talked about the market culture. Please, do you still mind maybe just a little brief about it? And also, I also know about a particular culture. Is it something hetra hetrarchy? And I can't really remember the right pronunciation now. The one
Hierarchy.
that talks about distributing. Okay, somebody's trying to help me pronounce it. Distribute decision making. It's not
Hierarchy.
just one. No, not
It's
the
the
hierarchy.
hierarchical structure.
No, the hierarchical is different. The hierarchy is where the authority, I mean, the decision is like from the top down. But this other one now is where decision making is distributed, whereby they don't have just one person. It's not authoritative. It's not just one person making a decision. Every person have a level of decision making that they can contribute to the organization. Something is it hierarchy
I
also?
just shared I just shared something on the channel. You must have seen it
Okay,
now in the group. It's 12 types of organizational culture you should know. That's by
okay,
AIHR. Do you understand? And it's something we need to begin to read. But you see, as you study culture, you also must pay attention to structure. Because structure is an expression of your culture. So that's why you see some, they will say, oh, we operate a flat structure. And to be candid with you, since I have been talking to people, even I've worked in places where they say they operate a flat structure. I have not really seen a flat structure. I have never seen it, not really in practice. I have seen it in documentation, but I've never really seen a structure that is flat, that the man at the top, the MD, relates to everybody the same way. Why? Because you see, hierarchy to a great extent is needed. You don't just make it too elaborate. So when you begin to hear we want to operate a flat structure, in Nigeria, what I have seen is chaos and confusion. Because I was part of a training during the week, came to facilitate a training. And we're training, and these were very experienced people who were training. And at some point, one of them said the MD bypassed about a 6th-level structure to call him and speak to him directly on the field. And he said he felt very uncomfortable. You know, where you work in a place and between you and the MD, you have about 7 lines. And the MD bypasses those people and comes to talk to you. What it begins to do to organizations is it begins to weaken processes and systems, because it means that anybody can bypass anybody to go and talk to anybody. But no, you designed your structure so that it can help to enhance your business operations. So whatever culture you are talking about, you must also design your structure to align with your culture so that it can up. The idea behind your structure is to strengthen what you stand for as an organization, and is to strengthen the mode of communication you have adopted as an organization. So you can't have a clan culture, for example, and you are designing a structure that is scattered. It will be contradictory. That's why when you see organizational structure, you see where you have your simple hierarchical structure that goes down. You have your matrix, you have your hybrid, that is a blend of different organizational structures. And at the end of the day, it is just to achieve a goal. But for you to embrace a kind of hybrid system, you must be a very large organization. At the moment, I don't think any company in Nigeria can successfully run a hybrid system, because we're in Nigeria. For you to run a hybrid system, you must begin to operate in more than 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 countries. So you begin to see how some things can be unified across board. But apart from that, you need to pay attention. At least when we share links, it is for you to go and read, it's for you to go and study. We can't do everything in this class, but the best we can do is to give you access to information that helps you to understand how things are done. And don't forget, I said it's not enough to know why decisions are made. You need to begin to understand how decisions are made, because the how is what makes you a very good person in all that we talk about. Thank you. Is Mr. Gabriel here yet? No.
Question, sir.
Please go
Sorry,
ahead.
I have a question.
Yetunde, please go ahead.
Okay, first, I'm sorry I didn't take your question when you asked. My baby just woke up, so I was hearing, but I was attending to him. and I wanted to talk about leadership as strengthening organizational cultures. But since you have deviated, so I'm going to ask: when you have a clan culture, what sort of structure will fit? Because I think having a clan culture, most of the structures are always scattered. It doesn't fit into whatever. Anything happens at any time because it's clan. So I think I want you to please explain it, how you can fit into a clan culture, how the structure can fit into a clan culture.
All right, thank you very much. It's a very straightforward question. The best way to describe a clan is to actually use your family. In the home, who is the source? Who is the primary source of authority in the home? In an African setting, the primary source of authority in the home is the father. And from the father, the next line of authority is who? Is the mother. And from the mother, God bless you, you have a very, very powerful firstborn. That some people call, in Yoruba, they call it Olori Ebi. You realize that it flows from the mother to the firstborn or the first child of the family. Depending on your culture, in some culture, you may be the first child if you're not a male child. That's not it, but that's not what we're looking at. So in a clan, the information flows from top down, and it goes from the most authoritative to the next in line, to the next in line, to the next in line. So in a clan culture, and when you begin to now treat it like an extended family kind of system, it is still similar. In every family, in Yoruba land, the person we call Olori Ebi. Olori Ebi is the person that takes decision, that leads discourse in the family. The family may be up to 1,000 in size, but until that person sits, nothing happens. So for a clan culture, the hierarchical system works well, or what we call the scalar chain. The scalar chain, at least we know the scalar chain. The MD is at the top, the deputy MD is next, then it goes like that. That is very simple. If you follow it, you can't miss it. But the problem is we claim we run a particular structure and we actually express a different culture, one. Or number two, we are not actually clan in our thinking, but we are designing a clan-based structure. I have come to realize in a couple of places that I've worked that the problem really is the culture, the underlying culture behind the business. The person, I once worked in a place where my MD could actually go to a cleaner to go and hear what is happening and listen to the counsel or to the advice of a cleaner. And because of the advice of a cleaner, he can sack a senior manager. Now, that is very interesting, but it's very pathetic as well, because an MD going to get the contact of a cleaner or a couple of cleaners who begins to give him or her feedback when he or she is not in the country, and he acts on that and not really waiting for the people reporting directly to him or the managers to give him counsel. The best that would do is it will breed resentment, it will breed eye service, and there can never be a sense of togetherness. You can give people more money. More money can only motivate people for a short while, but when people are not happy about how things are done, it won't work. So for a clan culture, if you are certain it's a clan culture, a simple hierarchical system will work, because normally in every structure, or what you call organogram, from the top you have a line pointing downwards with the arrow pointing downwards. That line is called the line of authority. Authority flows from the top and it flows down. Then you have another line flowing from down up. The arrow points up. It's called the line of responsibility. Responsibility flows from down up. So when you have that clearly defined, The next thing, which is the major problem with most businesses in Nigeria, is adhering to the system and the structure you have designed to run by. And for as long as you allow the system to fly, you realize that things will come out fine. But most times we have the structure that doesn't align with our culture. And when it aligns in code with the culture we say we have documented, we don't give expression to it and we don't allow it to run. So it's not enough for you to have documents. It's not enough for you to have everything written down. It's enough for you to give expression to everything you have expressed in form of document. And maybe one of these days, for those who will eventually be interested, one of these days we need to talk about corporate governance, so that we begin to see where all these things actually begins to get messed up along the line. But for a clan culture, a simple hierarchical structure will work very fine. I hope that answers your question.
Sorry, I have
Any
a
other
question.
question? Please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. So I was going to ask, is that I want to quickly say what I got from the definitions of the culture, because I feel that okay, in cultures is the way of life of a certain people, even in kind of setting and the rest. Then, according to how you have now given us the types of culture that we have, it's now looking to me as if is culture structure. Is that what it means? The structure of, I mean, different structures of cultures that we have. Not
No.
necessarily what is okay. So I really need to get that part.
Okay.
Another question
Okay.
is,
All right. Go ahead.
I have two questions. The other question is how do you effectively communicate culture to people at work?
All right. Thank you. I'll answer the second question first. It's very straightforward. We say culture is a way of life. So the best way to communicate your culture is to live your culture. If you say you are building a culture of mutual respect, then you don't talk down on somebody. If you say we're building a culture where everyone's opinion matters, then you don't shout people down when they are giving their opinions. So the way you want your people to live. For example, I don't want my children to beat themselves or shout at themselves. So all I do is to make sure that I don't shout at them and I don't shout at their mom. So whenever my son shouts at any of his sisters, I call him and I say, have you ever heard me shout at your mom? He says no. I said, so why are you doing that? So with time, he began to make adjustment and he's still making adjustment. Why? Because I am showing him the pattern. So culture is actually showing the pattern and living the pattern. So it's not the best way to communicate culture is to live the culture, express the culture. It's not about sending emails every Monday morning. Say, oh, when they read the email every Monday morning, they would understand it will sink in their subconscious. But they keep seeing you insulting people. Oh, you say, I don't want you to gossip about people. But every time you sit down in the presence of your children, you're always talking about other families. They are picking the culture that you want them to pick, not the one you are telling them. It is do as I do, not do as I say. I guess that answers that. So the best way to communicate culture is for everyone from the top to begin to live the culture they are encouraging or expecting everyone to live. About culture and structure. Culture is a way of life. We've defined it. Structure is how we are organized to do what we are doing. But when you pick a structure that does not strengthen your culture, that does not align with your culture, it will create chaos for you. That's what I was trying to say. Structure helps us to get organized. Culture is how we think and how we live. So what we do is to ensure that the way we think and the way we live is what is expressed in how we organize ourselves. And the moment the two can align, that organization will run seamlessly. And I have always used this organization as an illustration. Friesland Campina. When you enter Friesland Campina, you will never feel any form of tension in the work environment. I have run projects for them before. I have been there a couple of times. A friend of mine who is now in the US had worked there. Two of my friends' wives are working there as we speak. And about two of the people I had trained over the years are also working there. They don't want to leave. They are not leaving the company. When they leave the company, most of them, they are outside of the country. When you get there, you don't see all this up and down. They are calm. They talk to themselves politely. So when you check the way they are structured, that will support how they are, and it helps the business. Friesland Campina, you will hardly see their job advert in the papers, but they employ people. So how do they employ people? Because culture plays a vital role in how you are perceived and how many. See, when you begin to talk about culture, you begin to talk about employer branding. What is employer branding? Employer branding is the perception of your brand from outside, and it is created a lot by the people from within, and how you organize yourself as a business. So all those things are somehow connected, they complement one another. So when you want to design a structure for a company or for an organization, do your due diligence to understand what kind of culture exists in the place. That's why I said you cannot take the document that you did for company A where you worked, and the document worked very well. You can't just take it and just implement it in company B, because there are two different companies with two different cultures. Their thinking patterns are different. A part of it may be useful, but a lot of part of it you may need to tweak one or two things. That's when the document becomes best fit, not best practice. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other question from the chapter we are reviewing for today? Because
Please,
I
I have a
guess.
question.
Hello, sir.
I have a
Go ahead,
question, sir.
Mr.
Okay.
Kayode. Mr. Kayode, Mr. Sam, hold on, please. Mr. Kayode, go ahead.
Okay. Sir, thank you very much. Thank you for the emphasis on culture. Now, where I work, I always say that was proud to mean culture as a theoretical thing. I've always been calling where I work as a family-like culture. What I mean is that a driver could easily walk into an executive director's office to talk to her. A cleaner can just walk into my ED's office and talk to him, meaning that the hierarchy, even though we have hierarchy, is fluid. Some ways, even though not much of an open door policy, but at least people are free to walk into the top management level and everything. Now, my question is, family-like culture, what is it called in a real theoretical sense? Because I'm sure that what family-like culture is anything. So what is it really called? What clan culture?
That's
What can I call family-like culture?
that's what I call the clan culture, right?
I'm with you, sir.
Because that's what we call the clan culture in
Oh,
the
it's
family.
similar. Okay.
Yes, I should be able to
Yes.
talk up to my father, although my mother is the next line of action, but I should be able to talk to my father without any fear. Do you understand? But when it comes to my children asking me for things, the moment they have gone to their mom and their mom has said no to them, they know that when they come to me, they are still going to get a no, because myself and their mom have this, we have this understanding and we talk. So when they come to me to say something to me, I say, have you asked your mom? And when they say yes, and I say, what did your mom say? They say, mommy said no. I say, so if mommy said no, it's no. Even when I want to say yes, the first thing I say is, if mommy said no, it's a no. Then I can now call my wife later and talk to my wife to say, okay, you know what? Yes, they should be able to have this. So call them and tell them yes. So later on, maybe after like 30 minutes, my wife will now say, you know what? Okay, that thing you asked me for, okay, you can go ahead. Now, they are not seeing any disagreement between me and their mom. Their mom said no, I wanted to say yes. But we needed to make them see that we are together. And by saying it together, they know that they cannot position one person against the other. This is how it plays out at work. Most times when you talk to your direct line manager, he says no, you bypass him and you go to his boss. And his boss says yes. What you have done is you have created tension. So when you can literally look at how we manage our families and begin to put it into how we manage ourselves at work, there are offices that you just must say good morning. We value it, it's part of what we cherish. But there are some organizations that say, who cares whether you say good morning? Just get the work done and get out. Nobody cares about good morning. It's our culture. I worked in places where I told them I don't care about whether you greet me or not. Get the work done. But of course, I'll greet you, I'll do all those things. But I'm making it look like that because some managers were beginning to say, how can he get into the office? He did not greet me in the morning. Give him query. I said, no. Your policy did not say they must say good morning. And neither did your policy say they must say good night. Your policy says that they should work. And at that point, everybody now began to consciously pay attention to it and say, look, you want me to greet you. You can't legislate it. Let us treat ourselves with respect. Let us make our people feel important. Let's make them feel dignified. Then they want to work with us. And in fact, they would offer to carry your bag and want to do things for you that you don't even want them to do. You can never carry my bag everywhere I've worked. Cleaner comes to me to say, sir, let's carry your. You can't carry my bag. You would hardly buy my food for me, except you and I have become so close. It's not because I'm afraid you are going to kill me. It's because, see, I'm able to carry my bag. I carried my bag from my house. So why should you come and carry my bag for me? And it's not because I am angry. It is me. But I have some people that were not even as high as I was, that they were washing their place for them. They will go and carry their bags from inside their car for them. We are structured differently. So the moment you understand that difference in how we are structured, then everybody will be fine. And these are the things that forms how our organizations are structured and how we begin to operate in our organizations. You see someone, you are looking at him because you delayed in saying good morning. He has you already and is waiting for performance appraisal. And you have someone, you enter the office, in fact, your head did not even remember to even say, since I'm coming to your office, good morning. And the person say, oh, good morning. You say, oh, sorry, ma, good morning. Oh, sorry, sir, good morning. We are different. Why someone will take it and you hold it against you? Another person will just feel like, okay, it's an oversight and begins to. And don't forget, we manage people. And at every point in time, managers will come and tell you, this my staff misbehaved. Give him a query. And you know what we're always quick to do as HR? We give queries. No, I ask questions. What did he do? Say, oh, I was talking to him and he was turning his eye. And I'm just like, sorry, turning his eye or turning her eye. What does that mean? She was disrespecting me. Did she say you're an idiot? He said, no. Did he ease when you were talking? He said, no. He was just turning his eye. I said, look, turning the eye could mean anything. When you're talking to me and I'm turning my eye or I'm looking up, I may be processing what you are saying, trying to understand what you are saying. So we need to understand, because HR has punished people that had no business to be being punished, because we're always too much in a haste. And management will want to force you, to push you to quickly do some things at times. But you need to get to a point where you are able to say, sorry, can I ask what truly happened? Because it's by understanding what really happened that you'll be able to solve problems in a lasting way, and people will be able to. If you're an HR person and people don't trust you, people don't like to talk to you, people don't like to come and share deep things with you, there's trouble, there's problem. Because HR is actually the people's mind. They come to you, they bounce things off you to say, sorry, Oga, this is happening. What do you think I should do? Oh, this guy is asking to marry me. Do you think I should? See, they tell you things that are not your business, because they can see you as a human who treats them like human beings and is helping them. And I hope that actually addresses your question. Mr. Sam.
Yes, boss. All right, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, I know the question you asked us was, which of the culture best fits organization or encourages an inclusive work force? I don't know if I get
Positive
that correct.
performance.
Okay, positive performance. So we've been able to talk about the various kind of culture, and in their own unique way, they fit into various ways. So I only want to say, for me now, I've gotten to learn more, and that one size of a culture doesn't fit all. So to an extent, I'm not really getting that the answer to that question yet, that which of the culture, because at Hocracy talks about innovations and initiatives encouraged, then market culture talks about maybe where there is a healthy competition that talks with that goes around with maybe market behavior or performance. Yeah, and the clan culture talks about the family thing. So they all have their own uniqueness, but I've not really gotten which best fit for an organization that answers directly to this question. That's one. And secondly, I remember once attending an interview, and I asked the HR. The only question I asked the HR was, "What kind of culture do people run here?" And you wouldn't believe the answer. The response was, "Our culture is very bright. It stares at you at the face as you're coming into the compound." And I couldn't really fix my head. And in all sincerity, I didn't want to ask too much again, so I'll not appear too inquisitive, or like I'm beginning to ask somebody that's going to be my line manager, beginning to ask her question that she doesn't know, and it will just breathe some kind of maybe like a red flag. So in a situation like that, and knowing very well, like not releasing anything in the organization for you to identify what's happening, how can you really tell? How will you manage your way around, knowing very well that this culture thing becomes a thing of consideration for you to get into an organization? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. The first question is, the answer to the question I asked you is, your culture will determine your structure. And once you identify your culture, it helps you to be properly structured, then it will enhance positive performance. If you operate a market culture, a market focused or market based culture, you know that everything about the organization is responsive to the market. So you begin to design systems and initiatives that will begin to push your people towards that direction. Once you are able to do that, everybody will. So there's no one size fits all. Understand your culture. And once you understand your culture, design your systems, your structures to align with your culture, then it will be able to move. There are some cultures, they are very competitive. If you are not competitive, you can't thrive in that environment. So if you go and bring a kind of, all this personality, sanguine personality type, that is a people person that wants to build long-term relationships and wants us to work together as team, the person will fail because everybody is competing with everybody. And because it is survival of the fittest, then you begin to design structures, begin to put systems in place that strengthens that culture. And when you begin to bring people in at the point of interview, you want to bring someone like me into a highly competitive environment. You begin to look at him. Does he have the stamina to withstand this competition? Can he go through this? That is what we're supposed to do as HR professionals at the interview level. We're not really looking out for technical skills. We're looking out for the soft skills, because the soft skills are the things that actually make people survive on their jobs, not just the technical skill. That's why there's that slogan that says, we hire for attitude, we train for skills. Skills can be taught. Attitude can hardly be taught. People hardly change. So when you already see someone who is a snob and you are bringing the person to a people-facing role, you need to rethink it again. Then about the interview you had, and the person said the culture is bright, it's not her fault. She doesn't know. And the truth is, it's our fault. HR professionals, a lot of us don't know. And we don't know. And when we don't know, I guess the best thing for us to do is to reach out to learn more, to ask questions. I have worked in places, and the last 3 places I had worked, I had always clearly documented my intention. One of the places I got to, I realized that the HR team was not actually an HR team. So when I got in there, the 2 people in HR left. And I brought in my own team. And I wrote a document. I had a sit-in with my MD. And I said to him, this is the kind of HR team I'm putting together. So it's the type of team that can compete anywhere globally. And they will have some of the best qualifications, that's certifications. And when I said that, he was excited. And I said to him that, look, within the next 5 years, the average age of staff in this place is going to be this. I documented everything. And I looked at the data we had at hand, and I designed it. And barely a year later, not up to a year, I got him to sponsor the certification of every member of my team. In fact, we paid for the certification of one of my interns, who eventually became a full-time staff. And we paid for HRCS certification, not CIPM. Because I told my team, we paid for HRCS certification. Everybody, about 6 or 7 of us, were paid for. Why? I was able to communicate where I was going to, because it aligned with where the MD is looking at, because then we're preparing for one international accreditation. And he agreed, and everybody was sponsored. If you are not able as an HR professional to clearly communicate what you are looking at, it doesn't matter what the mission of the business is. I always have my own HR mission statement. So I begin to tell you, see this HR team, this is where we're going to, this is why we exist. And by the time you put it, you are able to see at what point HR connects with the overall mission statement to help the business. Then the business owners begins to take you seriously. We're not yes sir people, but a lot of us need to learn how to do strategy. A lot of us need to learn how to study systems, pick information, study trends, and make our own recommendation. It doesn't mean it will always be 100% perfect. There are people here who have worked with me before when we've had to tweak and tweak and tweak, but we always had something to work with. And that is the most important thing. But when you find yourself in a place where they don't have such, then you can be the missing link that comes in to begin to help them put those things into practice. When you need help, I've always said this week in, week out, you need help to develop these things, bring them. We'll begin to give you support to do them. So I guess we flog this culture thing a lot, and it is expedient because culture actually it affects everything we do, but we don't really pay much attention to it. Is anyone saying anything before I move to high performance
Yes,
working
sir.
systems?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Okay,
Okay.
sorry, sir. I heard you mention collaborative culture. I don't know if I heard right, and I do not understand what you said there. There, please,
It
if you
simply
can
means
help
to
to
collaborate.
rephrase again.
It simply means to
Collaborative
collaborate.
culture.
There are some culture that
Okay, like a team.
you can, yes, you cannot do you cannot complete an entire process without having to consult with someone. He
Okay.
encourages you to ask questions. He encourages you to share ideas. There are some organizations that when you get there, when they want to do anything, they sit down together. They say, okay, that idea you have, let's think through it. It's your task, it's your idea. But everybody is making a contribution to it to make it come out fine. For some of the people who have worked with me, when you ask them, when we have some things to do, I'll ask them, what do you think about this thing? And every time I come to say, what do you think? It's not that I don't have something at the back of my mind, but I realize that when you open it up for deliberation, you'll be able to see things from other people's perspective, and they are able to help you make a better decision, and you are better for it. So collaborative dimension or culture enhances that cross-fertilization of ideas. It allows you for you to share ideas, for you to share tasks. Then at some point, you begin to see things around job rotation. You begin to see things around job enrichment. The idea really is, can we begin to just across board? It's just to make the thing. There are just cultures like that that can't do anything without collaborating. But there are some cultures, when I give you the task, just go and sit down in one corner. I don't care. Just turn it out for me. But I like a very collaborative system. I like a system where the manager does not know it all. As a matter of fact, one thing you need to know is the manager is less technical and more administrative because it's a people manager. So the people doing the technical things are members of his team. But make sure you don't become a manager that gets to a level and does not remember anything again. So that when you find yourself in a chaotic environment, you'll still be able to do what you know how to do from the beginning of your career. I hope that answers your question, man. Okay, high performance working systems. Let me look for someone to talk. I guess it is good we also talk about this thing. Oluwaseunwara, let me hear your contribution about high performance working systems. Oluwaseunwara. Why Sheung is trying to unmute. I can see Paul. I can see Elizabeth.
Hello,
Are you
sir.
available? Okay, go ahead, please.
I didn't get your question. I was on a call with Mr. Gabriel, so I don't know, but I only just heard they are calling my name.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, I
Hello, sir.
said, can you hear me, Oluwashimara? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. He's
All right.
he's still unable to join.
Okay, I will talk to him
He
after the
has
class.
joined, but he can't. Hello, sir, I can't hear you, but I can see that you are speaking.
Oh, it should be your net. Can you all still hear me?
This network is really bad.
We can hear
Yes, we
you.
can hear you.
Okay,
We can hear you,
Shewara,
sir.
maybe you should exit and join again. Okay, so Elizabeth, can you speak? Let's hear your contribution on high performance working systems, HWPS. HPWS, sorry. Elizabeth Olufioye, can you hear me? Okay, who is willing to go? Who is willing to go? It's I guess this is more helpful when we really engage ourselves. Ogolua Pedro, can you hear me? Ogolua Pedro. Is it that everybody cannot hear me or everybody is afraid to say something?
We can hear you, sir, but we just trying to put, sir.
Okay, since you have said something, Vera, you can as well
Sir,
put it.
I can hear you, but I'm in a noisy place. I'm in a noisy
All
place,
right.
so I can't make any contribution, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So, Vera, I guess what do you understand by high performance working systems?
So I'm trying to understand one because I was not getting one. My network was
You,
just stable.
that
So
means
it's
you have
different.
studied the chapter.
No, sir.
All right. Noble Ellen.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead,
Hello,
sir.
sir.
Mr. Kayode.
Okay, sir. So, sir, I think I performing working system is basically a system where there are people now this is my own thoughts what I've just described from what you just said. It's a system that focus more on performance. When I say performance, there are high performance. There are people that are high performance. So how do you then manage these kind of people? How do you manage these guys to retain them? How do you ensure that this is your high performer guy, this is your high performer, this is your high flying staff are engaged? How do you ensure that you manage them effectively? So I think that is probably that's the focus of that high performance working system. That's what I think.
Thank you, Mr. Kayode. I would come to
I
you.
think
Ellen,
that
okay.
is
Who
this
is talking?
Yetunde, sir?
Okay, I can see something.
Yetunde, go
Okay,
ahead.
somebody's talking. All right.
Okay, so I think high performance working systems is just dealing with, or it starts with your recruitment process, how you acquire, you select, you get high performing personnel to key into the organization so that you can turn out personnel that have done it.
Mm.
I said it's your own. I'm sorry. So that you
Oh,
can churn out a high performing system altogether. You have personnel that will be able to deliver on their job.
thank you. Okay,
Yeah,
Mr.
thank
Sam.
you. Yeah, can you listen?
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Apex.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
thank
All
you
right.
very
Yeah,
much.
go ahead.
Yeah, when we talk about high performance system, working system, basically I can say these are practices that pushes an organization into what I can call organization learning and then learning organization.
Mm.
So these are practices that helps a company to create an enabling environment for its member, which may make such organization to be conducive for those members to work actively. And in the other way around, while the organization is providing a conducive environment, the members too are also learning through that. And then, oh, sorry, there's an interruption from my baby.
Okay, Mr. Apex is attending to his baby, but I need us to pay attention to something. It is called high performance working systems. So when you look at the S, it says systems. Systems is a collection of procedures, policies, and processes. And we need to know that when we say high performance working systems, we're not focusing on an individual. We're focusing on policies, procedures, processes, initiatives, and practices. And we're saying that how can we establish systems that will stimulate high performance in the organization? And when you begin to talk about that, when group 10 was giving us the summary earlier, they did talk about some things from the book, but we will look at it. But I need you to know that when we talk about our high performance working system, high performing working system, it's not about a person, it's about a system. How can your system be designed in such a way that it stimulates high performance? How can your system be designed in such a way that it enhances the capacity of people working with you? It is expedient that we pay attention to that. So here, then when you begin to talk about your recruitment system, when you begin to talk about your learning and development initiative, they are fine. But the part of it that we really don't pay attention to, that really affects performance, are the practices. The practices are the things we truly do and give expressions to. We can have the policies, we can have the procedures, we can have the processes, but what do we actually practice? What do we actually do? Go to your organizations. Let's look at our respective organizations one at a time. What are those policies you have? A couple of our organizations even employed consultants to develop policies. We employed consultants to develop SOPs. And after they've developed the policies and SOPs, you know what they do? They bring booklets to us. They bring plenty documents. Oh, and we claim we have these policies and we keep them in the archive. And we really don't make reference to them. Even the management does not even know what the policy says about management meetings. Is that simple and is that funny? That we have SOPs on management meetings that even management, members of the management, even the MD/CEO's office don't even know what it says. But we paid to develop those things. So those are not the real problem. High performance working system now speaks to a combination of those documentations and what we actually do in the real sense of it. And that's why you see that it's a bundle, it's a collection of practices, processes, and what it's supposed to do is to help to enhance the performance of employees in an organization. Before bringing you into an organization, there must have been a system put in place that the moment you come in, you are plugging into it. Yes, the recruitment process or the recruitment function is the entrance point into bringing people into any organization. But beyond that, when you have employed the person has accepted your offer, you are excited, you have brought in a very experienced person, and the person resumes. Day one, what happens? Do you have a clear onboarding system, onboarding process on ground that will not make the person feel out of place, like a fish out of water? You know, experience in Nigeria is most times when you join an organization, the first day, you begin to ask yourself, have I not made a mistake like this? Because there are gaps here and there, they begin to like, oh, sorry, we're still waiting for your manager. Oh, we're still waiting for the person to take your orientation. Oh, we're still looking for the person to take you around. And I begin to like, this is Gobe, I've entered it again. No, it shouldn't be. From the point the person entered in the morning, the person should be actively engaged. And as you are engaging the person in HR, the person moves to the next point. From the next point, the person is actively engaged, moves to the next point. Then your onboarding process would have clearly documented what should happen for a period of 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, depending on how long you want it to be. And that is part of the things that makes the new employee a high performer. Most employees underperform within their first 6 months to 1 year. And the reason is not because they cannot perform. The reason is because our systems do not stimulate performance. Our systems, the first 1 year, frustrates them. Let's do it. If I do a quick poll now, I ask you how many of you have had to change your jobs, and after changing your jobs, you felt excited that, oh, this job will do me well. You come to realize that a lot of people began to feel like, am I sure this is a right decision? And it's not because the organization is bad, it's because the systems are not tight. It's because the systems are not clearly put in place. So it's not just to have the paper, it's also just to put it in clear perspectives. That's about that. Then we now talk about what are the characteristics of a high performance culture. Management commitment is the number one. The management is who determines what high performance is. Do you understand? And it says defines what is required and what is meant to be done. When we talked about strategy, HR strategy, we talked about strategic plan or strategic objectives. The strategic objectives are established and defined by the management. And when the management takes this, the management pushes this to every member of the organization, then everyone has a clear picture about what we're expecting to achieve. Oh, this year we're going to make 6 billion naira in profit. Or no, we're not looking at the profit, we're looking at 4 billion naira EBITDA. That is earning before interest, tax, depreciation, and as in you begin to focus on that. No, EBITDA does not make sense to an average person, but it makes sense to accountants. Now, EBITDA makes sense to me because I've had no choice than to do some things. So the moment they say, oh, we want to make 6 billion naira profit, not revenue, profit, then you begin to like, okay, how do I plug it into this? I'm an HR person. Then HR begins to like, if we're going to make 6 billion naira profit, then I want to cut down on a lot of cost spent on something. So I go back to my health plan. Oh, last year we spent 1.5 billion naira on health plan, and we didn't really get much value. Oh, I can get the same health plan for 500 million naira from someone, another company, and they'll give me better. Instantly, I say, you know what, we're changing our HMO. We're changing to this one. These are the values we're going to get and all that. I have saved 1 billion naira. Now, 1 billion naira that is saved from here is enhancing the profit. That is how to think, but the management provides the direction. And a lot of HR people feel that what's my business with it? My dear, it's your business. If the organization does not perform well, you won't be able to pay salaries. If the organization does not perform well, you won't be able to ask for salary increase. If the organization does not perform well, you won't be able to ask for some benefit for your staff. And if the organization is not performing well, then people will lose their job. And because you don't want people to lose their jobs, you need to be interested in the figures. Then you need to begin to think about, then people in operations begin to think about how do we streamline our processes, that our processes are not unnecessarily long and we're able to save time and save money. Then we begin to talk about effectiveness and efficiency. Then people in finance begin to think about how do we get our turnover, how our account receivables, how do we get it back, our account payables, how do we negotiate certain conditions in our favor so that when we pay on time, we get discounts. We don't delay so that we pay more. If I'm supposed to pay you in 45 days and I'm supposed to pay you 45 million naira, but if I pay in 30 days, I'll pay you 42 million naira. I get 3 million discount. Then I begin to, as a finance person, begin to like, let me pay in 30 days so that I can save 3 million naira. That is how everybody begins to think. You realize that everybody is thinking around 6 billion naira profit. So we begin to address it from our own different angles, and it comes together. That's why it's strategic. It's strategic because it's bringing everybody's outcomes together to form a corporate outcome. That's why the management needs to be the one to define what's up. Then provision of alternative work practices to ensure working conditions that are flexible. Okay, this has become very expedient, especially as a result of the COVID. Before COVID, how many of us really wanted to use Zoom? Nobody wanted to do anything online. I know I will spend too much data, but COVID came and suddenly things happen. And I know of organizations that have reduced their on-site working time by 70%. As a matter of fact, some staff only go to the office once in a month and they go for meetings and for updates. So the space requirement of the organization has shrunk by about 70%. So their fixed overhead has reduced by 70%. The number of cleaners they need for the office has reduced. The amount they need to spend on furniture has reduced. And what they have said and what they are spending on giving their staff data allowance is peanuts. So we need to begin to rethink our systems of work and making work very flexible. In January, nobody thought about subsidy removal. In May, subsidy removal happened. What can you do differently to enhance the quality of work of your people? Not and helping to alleviate the pains that are on them, although the organization is not able to pay more salaries to them. Those are the things that needs to come up here. And those are the things that enhance a high performance working system. How can we make our works more flexible? Then you begin, last week we talked about technology. You begin to embrace technology. And one technology you need to embrace for an entire organization is what you call enterprise resource planning solution. They call them ERP. What are ERPs? ERPs are solutions, cloud-based solutions that are designed to make people work from any location without feeling it. What does it do? From within it, you have the HR module, you have the finance module, you have the inventory module, you have it has plenty module, customer relationship module, several modules, depending on what you need. And the moment you do that, trust me, what it does is from wherever you are on the face of the earth, all you need to do is log into the application. The application will register that you have logged in. Then you see your tasks. It has project management, task management functions, modules. And as tasks are assigned to you, you see it from within it and you begin to work. And as you work, you can upload document to give update on what is happening. Who cares whether you are at work physically? All I care is your output. Give me the desired output and everybody is fine. But in Nigeria, we're used to just seeing people sitting down at work, doing nothing, being idle. But for you to have a high performance working system, it has to be flexible as well. And I hope that makes any sense. And last week, I said I was going to show you one or two solutions that I've helped to deploy for some clients. And one of them is a fully functional ERP that with about $600 one-off payment, you can deploy for your organization and you don't need to do annual payments. And it has accounting module, HR module, inventory module, customer relationship module, payroll module. It has a lot of modules inbuilt into it. And it's about $600. And you realize that once you have that, really, you employ people who show up once in a week at work. You don't spend too much on office space and you are still able to achieve. When people are flexible about their jobs, their productivity level shoots up. Their productivity level shoots up because, see, I know people who pick office calls at 12 midnight. And they say, well, you work remotely, we have to do this. They do it, but the guy knows his sleeps. And you know what it also does? Because the guy does not have to wake up 4 a.m. every day to try to rush to the office. What it does is it saves him stress. He's able to relax, or it saves her stress. She doesn't need to expose herself to the threat of one chance in Lagos or Abuja or Nigeria. Then number 3, she's able to save more what she could have spent on transport. She's able to save. And you realize that the person's capacity and ability to think clearly is enhanced. And once the ability to think clearly is enhanced, then the outcome will surely be better than what you will have gotten in previous ones. Then employees need to know what they are expected to do. This is where you have clear job descriptions and you have KPIs. Now let me tell you something. A lot of us do job descriptions. We just go online, we copy, we paste, and we begin to give to ourselves. No, you need to do a job description that may not be more than a page, but it is specific to the role. Job descriptions changes over time, right? So if you give a specific function to someone in your team for this year, just make the job description reflect what you have given to the person. And inside that job description, there's a KPI segment that you can put. See, I have a personalized template I developed. And if you private chat me, you need it for any reason. Unfortunately, I am in Lagos at the moment and I don't have my laptop here. But you need it when I get back to Abuja, I can share with you. The idea of sharing with you is not to make you lazy. It's for you to see and build on what I have done. It's to see what some other people have done and build on it. That's why I will keep using the word best fit. Please don't ever lose touch or focus of that best fit. It's not best practice, it is best fit. Pick best practice, modify it, and let it serve the purpose for which you want it to serve in your organization. Then you need to understand that we must do a people job alignment test or fitness test. What do I mean by that? Whatever you do with people, you must always ensure that what people are doing perfectly aligns with their capacities, with their capabilities. Don't pick someone that doesn't have flair for numerics and you say, no, I'll put you in billing, just be collecting money. You will run him into problem. Don't take someone that doesn't have the capacity for report writing and say, I'm making you a confidential secretary. You will create problem. Or I'm making someone that is disorganized. You are saying, I'm making you a PA. Excuse us. You are recruiting for a PA and someone brought his or her CV to you and the CV is so scattered with several typographical errors. You don't need an angel to tell you that is not a perfect fit. Because a PA is supposed to be someone that is able to organize things and make sure that things are like 99.9% error free. Now, the 0.1%, because we're human, but we need to be certain that we're getting the right people for the right purposes. If you have employed the wrong person for a role, no problem. Begin to think about moving people across the organizations. For anyone that is not movable, you need to think about how to ease them out of the system. Because for every person, for every employee that is not useful to the organization, that is kept in the organization, the burden is on you as HR because it's an HR cost. And the person will not be adding any value. So we don't ease such people off because we hate them. We ease them off because they are excess to business requirements. And these are some of the things that we need to actually get very familiar with, and we should be fine about that. Then, like what Golu also said earlier, what are the features, the characteristics of a high performance working system? Number one, structure. Structure that helps to equip employees with the means to acquire the desired skills. I've been talking about culture, structure. When I started, it was culture and structure. I cannot overflow structure. Structure is how we are organized to get work done. So we must make it very clear. How are we organizing to get work done? Do you know, I once was in a team. I had someone that I gave strategy and analytics. And as the manager, strategy was my function. But I gave the person strategy and analytics as the function. And guess what? Always bouncing my ideas, my thoughts on him every now and then. And he will come up with a collation of, based on data. He will create dashboards, he will analyze data for me. By the time he does the analysis and he gives me the presentation, he enhances my decision making. and it helps. So we must structure it in such a way. Then I had someone that the core responsibility is recruitment. Just keep recruiting for me. I don't care. And the person, whenever the person wants to recruit, we sit down together, we set, okay, what are the expectations for this role? The moment we set it, the person was responsible for collating CVs, for sorting, for shortlisting. Shortlisting was never my headache. She would have shortlisted. And after shortlisting, we come to talk. She does a summary on a sheet of paper. You have 100 candidates you want to interview. She will summarize it on paper. She will bring it to me. We sit down. We begin to look at it. Okay, these are the requirements. This is what this one has. Oh, I don't think this one will be a good one. Oh, do we remove this one? Oh, okay, this one is from this person. Okay. We discuss about it, and the moment we discuss it, they go ahead with it. It frees me time to be able to think about some other things, and they are able to perform at their peak, and they are happy they are doing what they are doing. And at the point of collaboration, they begin to collaborate. Then we must make investment in learning and development initiatives that helps to enhance the quality of our people. We can't stop investing. But during the week when I was facilitating the training that I did in Lagos, I said to them, I said, training must not always be what we came to do in Lagos. I said to them, I said, every weekly meeting you have is a form of training. Take advantage of it. Every monthly meeting you have is a form of training. Take advantage of it. Every quarterly strategic review sessions you have are training opportunities. Utilize them. The most important thing is, what is training? Training is transfer of knowledge from one person to another. It doesn't have to be an external facilitator. It can be from team members. There were times that when we identify gaps in my team, we will get one member of the team to go and prepare a training presentation and come and teach us during our weekly meetings. And what he was doing was, he was helping to develop the presentation skills of the people presenting, while at the same time bridging the knowledge gap in the team. So investing in people development, we can't afford to stop it. We must make information available. Information strengthens people's capacity to deliver more. When they know what they are required to know, they will help you to be able to achieve what you are doing. Of course, you must reward adequately. You must reward adequately. We can't but stress that you must reward adequately, come what may. Then I'll end with components of a high performance working system. Appropriate systems for recruitment, selection, and training. So it simply means that you must have a strategy for all your HR function. That's what it means. Have a strategy for recruitment. Have a strategy for training. Interestingly, you must also have a strategy for compensation and benefits. Are the salaries being paid by the organization, are they competitive in the industry? Oh, the big company is looking for the best talent, but the company is paying peanuts. When you pay peanuts, you will get peanuts. When you pay peanuts, you get bottom of the ladder people. But when you pay fairly well, then you'll be able to get the best of people. Clear job designs. In this way, I'll say clear job descriptions. Make job descriptions very clear. Don't go online, go and copy, paste, and come and use here. I am looking for a recruitment officer. Make it very simple. Number one requirement, the person must have skills or competency or experience in creating a talent pipeline. Very simple. Talent pipeline. Then we define what is a talent pipeline. Do you understand? Then we're also able to now do, okay, talent pipeline and all those things. Oh, the person should be able to close, time to hire is 45 days. Time to fill is 60 days. The person knows specifically what the person is coming to do, and it helps. So you must have appropriate systems for recruitment, selection, and training for your HR functions. Clear job designs, job descriptions are critical. Performance management systems, put specific structure in place. Don't give room for assumptions. Make it very clear. We will assess your performance every quarter. The person already knows. Give KPIs with targets. The person already knows. Don't burden the person with things that are not critical to the role. Anything that is not part of the person's KPI can never be as important as the person's KPI, because what you'll be measuring the person's performance against during the performance appraisal are the KPIs you set. So why would you set KPIs for me, but you make me spend 75% of my time on things that have no business, no link with my KPI? We need to be careful. Then here they talk about promotion and cooperation. I'll tell you, career development is what I call it. Career development. You hear me a lot. I talk a lot about career progression. Career progression speaks to career development. Everybody wants to grow. Nobody wants to be an admin officer 20 years later. Well, I worked in a place where I had an admin manager who came into the place as admin manager. 22 years later or 23 years later, I was still an admin manager. And someone said to me that it means that he's getting something else because he couldn't have been an admin manager for 20 years. He said that you never desired to become general manager and all that. So people, everyone, including every one of you on this call, desires career growth. And because you desire career growth, if you want to have a high performance working system, you must build career development into your systems. Your salary structure must align with your career progression, career development plan in the organization, so that when someone comes in as a finance or an accounts associate and the person moves to the next level and you begin to call the person officer or executive or whatever you call the person's pay should move to the next step on the ladder to reflect that. Then when it goes up, not that you have someone who is a manager who is earning 200,000 and the person is managing someone under her who is earning 300,000. Excuse me, that system can never be settled. There will always be resentment because I cannot be managing someone that earns more than I do. Then it's as good as making the person my manager. And those are some of the things we need to pay attention to: career progression, career development. Then we need to begin to think a lot around, like I said this earlier, training and development. I like to use learning and development because we learn in different ways. You need to be deliberate about that. I once worked in a place where we set, in the HR team, we set ourselves the minimum number of hours of training we want for every member of staff for that year. I think we set 20 hours. And the question was, how will you be able to sponsor people for 20 hours of training? I said, look, it doesn't have to be external training. Every time you have your departmental meeting, if it is a weekly thing and your departmental meeting is 1 hour, by the time you have met for 20 weeks in a year, you have achieved your 20 hours. But the most important thing is it must be documented, and that we must have some semblance of training, that is knowledge transfer from one person to the other in it. So we must be deliberate. If you don't have it, it can never be a high performance working system, because for every gap you identify, you are supposed to come up with a plan on how to bridge the gap, and that plan is a learning and development plan. Then people want to have a sense of security on their job. Talk about job security. People want to have a sense of security that, look, you can't just wake up tomorrow and just sack me. In places where people are sacked haphazardly, you realize that the motivation level of people are very low. You will hear things like, oh, I cannot come and go and kill myself, because even if I do anything now, this man can wake up tomorrow and say, Pam, bye-bye. And because of that, their commitment, their loyalty to the organization drops. So you must build in job security into it. Then there must be some forms of incentives. Incentives are more of compensations, but they are not contractual, right? Like you have staff of the you have staff of the month, you have staff of the year, you have different ideas, different awards, different recognitions. See, some people are just fighting for that staff of the month so that you can just put their picture in your reception so that everyone that comes will be able to see them and know that, oh, okay, it was staff of the month. That alone is enough incentive for some people to go the extra mile. You need to understand the environment and building incentives into extraordinary performance, as it were. Then information sharing must be seamless. It must be seamless. It must be seamless. You don't struggle to share information. Give people opportunity. Let them know what they need to know. You just came back from a management retreat. Let people know what is happening. For every management retreat I've ever gone for, when I come back, I carry my people along to say, okay, these were the things we discussed there. We had this argument, we had this argument. Okay, we agreed on this, we agreed on this. I do not see how this will work, but what do you think? We do all that. And the reason I tell my team is not because I want my team to gossip about it. No, it's because I want my team to know what I know. And because when my team knows what I know, my team can help me by thinking about what is bothering me. Then together we can come together and forge something ahead. Then, of course, the last thing there, you must always deliberately give feedback. Giving feedback is very important. It is important that you give feedbacks because feedbacks actually are the tools that help to enhance the quality of people's output in whatever they do, the outcome of what they do. I may be doing something that is wrong and I would think I was doing the right thing. But when you tell me as my manager, you give me feedback, you say, what you are doing is not what I expect of you. What I expect of you is this. You realize that I will be able to quickly backtrack, redirect my energy, and still be able to achieve more. It was my mentor that said to me years back, he said, don't ever be afraid to ask questions. He said, if you are 10 and the 10 of you are given an assignment and 9 others have run ahead, but you do not still understand what is expected, he said, wait behind. Ask. Make sure you understand what is required, because by the time you come back, you might end up being the only one with the right answer. So that became my method, and it became my method for dealing with people working with me. Now you are free to ask questions when you are not clear, because whatever you come up with, I want it to be my desired outcome. And because that is it, it has helped me as a person. It has helped in my relationship with people. I'm able to give them that opportunity, and they're also able to enhance the quality of my decision making. Why? Because we have that. So feedback is necessary. If you are not the type that is comfortable with feedback gathering or giving, please begin to learn it. If you are not the type that is very comfortable with people questioning you, please begin to get open to it. And if you are not the kind of person that is open to constructive criticism or constructive critiques, please be open to it, because there are times that your manager will say things that you feel is not what you want to hear, but it's not insulting you, it's not saying you are mad, it's not saying you are out of your mind, but it's just telling you, no, 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 I do not agree with this, I do not agree with this. All you need at the end of the day is that it helps to enhance the quality of your outcome. I don't like to use the word output, because the output could be what you don't desire. But in business, when we say outcome, outcome means that it is the desired outcome that you are turning out. And when you turn out the desired outcome, you cannot but be a high performance person. I have worked with places, I have interviewed, and I had this testimony in my last 2 interviews. In fact, my last 3 major interviews, I had this testimony that, look, you are the best we've had. And it's not because I can speak grammar. If I interviewed for one role, most of the people that interviewed for the role with me came from the abroad. They studied from the abroad, and they were speaking Queens, and this is me speaking my tuke English. And by the time we went for the first stage of the interview in Lekki, we wrote. They said they will get back to us. For like a month, they didn't get back to us. So I just said to myself, the Oyibo people have taken it. And suddenly they called us to come back on a second level interview. Then when we went for the final stage of the interview, when I saw the tuke English people, I said, okay, these people are here again. Let me just be part of them. They will take them. At the end of the day, I was chosen. And the question really is, why was I chosen? It's not because of I could speak Queen's English. No, it's because I could reduce HR practice to relatable dimensions. So it doesn't matter how much of HR practice you know. you should be able to reduce it to everyday relatable dimensions. That's the only thing that proves that you know what you are doing. A lot of people thrive in confusion, in chaos, in ambiguity, but HR thrives in simplicity, and it helps us to achieve results. So a high performance working system is one that has all these features, and most importantly, it makes the staff feel like I belong to the right system, and this system is there to watch my back and to make me a better person. I guess those are the two core things I feel that this chapter is talking about: culture and a high performance working system. And I hope you've been able to get something today. Any question, contribution, correction, or clarification? The floor is open. Questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello? Okay, my question is out of today's topic. I just want to know, when we are filling the attendance form, we are asked for the module of the day. I want to understand that what the module is all about. I've been feeling it, but I don't know if I'm feeling it rightly.
What's the topic for that we treated today?
Okay, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome, man.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello,
Hello.
sir.
Please go
Hello.
ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, please.
Please, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
When you were explaining about high performance system, you explained that one that is earning a salary more than I, like an example, should not manage somebody that's earning a salary higher than myself. So I want to present a scenario. I'm in an institution where, right, like for HND or for HND they use executive officer. For BSc we use admin officers. So for an admin officer that is on coins 9, managing executive officer on coins 12. Do
Okay,
you understand what I'm trying to say?
I do.
An admin officer, because he's a BSc holder, the admin
Yes,
officer,
I
but they
understand.
now place them over executive officer because they have HND. And the person
Yes,
is this admin officer is on coins 9, and this executive officer is on coins 12. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So, and she is part of the team this person on coins 9 is managing. Please expatiate or explain more on this, please.
okay, thank you, Tinuade. I know you are talking about the health sector, the government health sector. I used to
Yes,
work
yes,
in
federal health institution. Yes, that's
yes,
where I work.
I used
This
to
is
work
me now asking you. I'm the person on coins 9, but in the team where I manage, the lady is on coins
I know,
12.
I know. I worked in a federal hospital as well. And we've been talking about structure, so you need to now please pay attention to me. This is the idea. You have the schemes of service in the federal service, and in the schemes of service, there are three cadres in the administrative function or department. You have the admin officers cadre, you have the executive officers cadre, and you have the clerical officers cadre. The
Correct.
same
Yes.
way, yeah, the same way you have for doctors, where you have the consultant cadre, you have the resident cadre, and you have the medical officers cadre. And you realize that for the doctors, although the resident doctors are students in training, they are superior to medical officers, such that when you have a resident doctor in a committee, you cannot make a medical officer, whether it's chief medical officer or whatever, the chairman of that committee, except they are changing that today. So let me go back to admin. The administrative officers cadre is the most senior cadre in the admin function in the federal public service. So anyone that is an executive officer, they are seen more like assistants to admin officers. But I know of institutions, the institution where I worked, I was in a unit that my head was in the executive officer's cadre. But where you are, it is because the management of where you are have chosen to place that value on the admin officer's cadre, and have chosen to put the executive officer's cadre where the schemes of service says they should be. Yetunde is on this call. We both work together. Deji, I guess Deji is also on this call. We both work together in government hospital here in Lagos then. And we knew that, and there were some people that will fight it. So, but when they made me an executive officer, my own oga, it doesn't affect me. She's my boss because I met her in service. She was in grade level. She was in Coins 12, I think, at that time. But the most important thing is, are we getting the job done? But how those things are implemented is dependent on the management of the institution. You may have a medical director that may come tomorrow and choose someone who is an executive officer and say, this is the person I want to head this place. And you have admin officers there and there's nothing you can do about it. But when you look at the schemes of service, what you are doing is not wrong. But we have fought for one thing, and I thought that end of service actually did a circular then, that there should be that dichotomy between HND and BSc should be gotten out of the way. But I don't know why they have not literally implemented it. And you see, I've been saying it's not enough to have documents, it's just enough to activate and put to practice what the document says. But for you, in the government setting, is very straightforward. But in the private sector, it's another thing entirely. I know of people who are managing people who earn much more than them. And it's so funny. Now, for you, that executive officer can never grow to become a director of admin. And by the provision of certain circulars, if the executive officer needs to cross over to the admin officer's cadre, there is a circular that says that the person must go back to the entry level into that cadre. Then I remember there's also a fourth cadre in the admin area. You have the confidential secretary cadre. And you see, an admin officer on Coins 8 can be the head of a unit, and the person who is the confidential secretary in that place can be a Coins 13 officer. But their jobs are, their roles are distinct. By default, the executive officers are not meant, they are meant to provide support, assistance to the admin officers. But the public service is very clear. But in the private sector, and I'm sure one or two people may be faced with it here, when you have someone that is reporting to you and they say it's because the person was able to negotiate for more. What stupid negotiation will make you employ someone to earn more than the person's manager? Even in Canada, they don't pay anyone more than the manager, although the manager is not entitled to overtime. Now, the reason people working with a manager can earn more than the manager is with their overtime, and it is never paid on the salary structure, as it were. On the salary structure, the manager earns more than them. But the overtime is what they can put in, and the manager is not allowed to put in overtime. In Canada, at least I have a couple of friends. So you see some people, they say, you know what, I don't want to become a manager because I want to be able to put in my overtime and be able to make more money. I'm only in for the money. Why some people say I'm in for the long-term career development. But for the civil service, there's nothing you can do about it. That's what the schemes of service says. At least I still remember that book. I still remember the public service rules. I still remember some circulars that I had to work with when I was there, because I was privileged to work with the management board and all that. So there's nothing wrong with what you are doing, and I'm sure the executive officer will have no contention about it because they understand what the policy says about that. I hope that answers your question, Tinuade.
Yes, thank you very much.
Hello, sir.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I have similar question with Tinuade. So I know of someone that is like the HOD of a particular department, and is managing someone that is earning much more. It's a private sector. I work in the private sector. is earning much more than the person she is managing. So the question now is, since HR are the people that because in my company, HR advises on payroll, and this person also is privy to the information on, because the person works in a department that she's privy to all this information about the payment. In as much as yes, the person is saying it. So in as much as the person sees it, and the person still get the work done, because it's more like a recommendation from our previous boss. The boss was about, because the boss left the company and he recommended her. So now she's on that post already, doing the work for over months now, still receiving the same salary as an officer, and she's getting the work done. Why seeing that the person that she is managing is earning much more than her? So in the private sector, how do it? Because I believe that HR has this gap to bridge. Because if for a recommendation like that to come to her, that means the boss the boss saw that capacity in her to have recommended her. So if at all there's something HR can come into and do something about it, because I don't know if there's anything HR can do about it, because HR is supposed to be like an intermediary between the organization and the employee. So I don't know how they can come in.
It's an HR failure from the very beginning. And I think I know the person you are talking about. Because I worked where you are working, so I know what you are saying. And I would say something to you. There are times we make sincere mistakes. We are permitted to make sincere mistakes. But the moment to identify that something is a mistake, and I'll tell you why. Number one, this person is occupying a role that there's nothing you want to do. She must see the monthly payroll preparation. She must clear the payroll preparation. Am I right? She
Yes,
must
you're
give
right, sir.
approval before you can even push it to the next level for it to be paid. And this person has done this thing. I'm sure she's done it for more than a year, because I think she was appointed shortly before I left. And up till now, over a year, you want this person to be happy seeing that person that she manages earning more than her. Meanwhile, she's the one that stays very, very late at work to make sure that deliverables are made. She can never be happy. All she is doing is either she is afraid of taking the next step, or she has not gotten something good to make her move, or she's just totally afraid. But she can never be happy. And what tendency does that have? Number one, she will be talking to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who will be seeing the thing, and resentment begins to build up. If she's a vindictive person, she begins to set up the other person for failure to prove a point that, after all, you pay him more than I do. But what can HR do? It's very simple. What are the competency requirements for that role? Did she fulfill the requirement for the role, ticking the boxes? If she ticked 75% of the role, the new person we brought from outside, did he tick more? If the person from outside ticked more and is better than her, then it's as simple as she was appointed as acting head of department. Acting does not mean you must become substantive. Then you can be moved. But for as long as you are bringing this new person and you are not making the new person a manager, you should know that it is never an acceptable practice, except, please note me, except in tech environment. And the tech environment is dynamic in that, yes, the pay of this person may seem to be more than the pay of the person next to him, but there's a way they also augment it. So what should happen is HR needs to sit down, do a detailed analysis, put everything on the table. We need this competency, this lady has it. We need this, she has it. We need this, she has it. She came recommended. She has done more than 6 months probation. We have confirmed her. By confirming her, what we should do is to move her to the managerial cadre. Whether she's earning 100,000 at the moment and the managerial cadre is 600,000, it doesn't matter. But you know what most HR people do is to say, how can I move you from 100,000 to 600,000? No, it's too much. It's not your business. It's not your money. That's why we need to have a standardized structure. And the moment the person fulfills all the requirements for the role, move the person there. But what happened is, in this case, is probably we confirmed her on the role and still forgot her on the role without making anything. Meanwhile, I know before I left, the last salary structure in that organization that we did, we had pegged the entry level for manager. You said this is the level on which managers will come in. So it doesn't matter. The moment you give the person a managerial title, the person should come there. That is a fair system. And fairness, equity, and justice to be the watchword of HR practice. So HR needs to go back, do their own due diligence, and write a recommendation to the management. You see that she's not doing well as a manager, then let them bring her out. But if she's doing well as a manager, then they should do the needful. That's the way forward. The way forward is to correct the anomaly. The day you identify the anomaly, correct it. That's the best thing. That's the way forward. And that's the solution to the problem.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I have a question, sir. Thank you for all your deliberation. It was quite insightful and everything. So can I go ahead with my question?
Go ahead, Vera.
Okay. So in an organization, the position of the HR and the manager, so which is of the higher hierarchy?
Okay. In an organization, there are managerial cadre across departments, and there are officers cadre across departments. So the HR manager and the operations manager, depending on how the place is structured, can be on the same salary. None is above the other, but the function they perform makes one serve as a check on the other. Don't forget, when we talked about HR, introduction to HR, I did talk about HR as a line function and HR as a staff function. HR as a line function is performed by managers across departments because they are the first HR managers in charge of their teams. But HR as a staff function is the centralized function. So the HR department checks the functions and the operations of other departments, like the internal audit department also monitors the performance of everybody. It doesn't make the internal auditor or the audit manager, doesn't make him senior to all other managers. But the function determines that you respond to this person when this person asks you questions. That's how it functions. But you have employees, for example, in the civil service, you have admin officer 2, you have admin officer 1, you have senior admin officer, you have principal admin officer, you have assistant chief admin officer, you have chief admin officer, assistant director, deputy director, and director. See, it goes from one step to another. So all officers are on the same level. They are on coin. Admin officers 2 are coin 7, and they are all on coin 7. Account officer 2 is on coin 7, and it's just like that. It goes like that. So they are all on the same level, except for those who will now say, okay, by step, I am your senior. By step, I'm on step 3, you're on step 1. But for managers, except you now also graduate the managerial hierarchy. You have deputy manager. In some places, you have assistant manager, deputy manager, manager. You have assistant senior manager, deputy senior manager, senior manager. You have assistant general manager, deputy general manager, you have manager. How long your progression is will be determined by your culture and your philosophy in the organization. The civil service is designed to keep people in for maximum of 35 years or when they attain the age of 60. That's how the civil service has. That's why you see that the civil service has from up to grade level 17, or what they call coins 15 in healthcare. whatever it is, your progression, your career development plan must align with your culture and with your philosophy. Oh, we don't want to keep people in the organization more than 15 years. Nobody can grow to become a director. You peg it where people can grow to. At that point, you know that anything above that level is going to be by appointment. So nobody aspires to get there. But in the civil service, when a 20-year-old enters the civil service as an admin officer, he or she can aspire to become director of admin because it is clearly stated you can. And those are the things that you need to put in place in your respective organization. So the an HR officer cannot go and be unruly to a manager in another department. He will be punished because it's an officer. The person is a manager. But he can perform his function as an HR officer in charge of employee relations, who is investigating something, and he can invite the manager for engagement. And the manager will respect the function, not the person's level in the organization. It's the function the manager respects, not the level. I hope that answers your question.
All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Please, I have a question.
Please go ahead, Mr. Sami.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, I'm going to really paint a scenario to ask this question. Okay, this is an organization. So you, Mr. A, comes into this organization, all right, with quite some level of experience. So in getting into the HR, you now meet who becomes your line manager, let's say acting head of HR, because there was no HOD. And then in the system, you now realize there's a little bit of a difference in terms of qualification. You just came in and noticed that, okay, you're a bit qualified, all right? So in this space, you're seeing very clearly that you may not be able to cross this person to get on, because this person have been in the system before your presence and some way understand that job, that business. But when you're bringing it to practice and the qualification in terms of HR, you are more fit, you are more strong. But because of maybe cultural thing and all that, you're now realizing that you're just going to be reporting to this person. And even the vacancies, you're saying that to be at the top now, you're not seeing the possibility of being able to progress to that point, to that level. So how are you going to manage this situation? It's somewhat critical. So let me ask this question here, sir.
Two things. Number one, you are new in the system. The person has been there longer in the system. And I need us to know this. And I'm not careful to say it. Certifications don't make you a better HR professional. Certifications don't. What makes you a better HR professional is your understanding and your proven track record of success on the road. I did HR for like 13 years without going for a certification exam. Yes, I had 2 masters, but I just wasn't going to write CIPM. I just had my thing against CIPM. I just wasn't going to write CIPM. And the first certification I did was HRCI. By the time I was writing HRCI, it is just a proof of concept, just to say, oh, do I really know this thing? And you realize that even HRCI does not even confirm on you the fact that you practically can do HR. It's just to prove to people that I wrote a standardized exam in HR and I passed, which could have been crammed and passed. However, if you now get in and you realize that the person really does not know HR, I'll be the person's greatest cheerleader. I've had to report to someone that's much younger than me and didn't really know as much as I did. All I did was to become the person's cheerleader, greatest cheerleader. I would think for the person. I will come up with ideas for the person and I'll push it to the person. Deliberately, I was not bypassing the person. I could remember when we were in service. Yesterday is on this call, she can confirm it. They moved the head of my unit and they brought someone else. They brought the person before they finally moved the head of my unit. And this person, the director of admin gave me a document to draft. And of course, I knew how she likes her document to be drafted, so I drafted it. But because this person was just coming into that unit, and he likes to prove that he's smarter and more intelligent, he cancelled everything. He rewrote everything I did. I could remember having a conversation. He did it to Yetunde too. So I could remember having a conversation with Yetunde. And Yetunde was like, how can he do that? And I said, Yetunde, it's not my job. Oh. It is government job. If he cancels it, I will rewrite it. But I know that it was what I did initially that we still do, because I know what the director of admin wanted. So I adjusted to what he wanted, and I took it to the director of admin. And the director of admin said, Johnson, what is this you have brought to me? You know how we do this thing. Why would you do this? And I said, sorry, man. Mr. So. He reviewed my draft, and this is his review. And she said, no, go and give me your draft. And when I brought my draft to her, she signed my draft without correcting anything. But you know what message that thing passed to him? From that day, he stopped touching my draft anyhow. He could still review, but he was no longer rewriting my draft. Why? Because the person that calls the shot already says, this guy is writing the way I want it to be written. And that was it. So the same thing I would say to you. Forget qualification about this. Be the person's greatest cheerleader. Help the person succeed on the role. And all it will do is you begin to actually test your own capacity through her. After all, if you thought about something funny and it backfires, it won't backfire directly on you. But that doesn't mean you should mislead the person. But the most important thing is, I've been brought in for this role, I will do that role. When the environment is no longer conducive for me, I take a walk. Me, I have always said this to people, and there are people on this call that know me intimately. I can take a walk from any job anytime without even having a backup. I have done it over time. And people say, why? I said, because I know I am good. That the only thing is for you not to give me an opportunity to interview. If you give me an opportunity to interview, I can literally bet on it that I'll get the job. I don't care how many people put in for the job. And the reason is simple. It's not pride. It is having this confidence in my own ability, because I have gotten my hands dirty learning these things. So I'll say to you, support the person. If the person lacks anything, help the person. As a matter of fact, become the manager from behind. Manage the person from behind, because your own time is going to come and you are going to need your own cheerleaders, and the cheerleaders will surely come. So that's not an issue. Just support the person and encourage the person to go for certification. I do that a lot. I look at people, what are you doing? As I say, is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? Oh, okay, I don't know what to do. Okay, I'll show you what to do. And I always, by God's grace, I always have solutions for people on what you can quickly do that can enhance what you are doing. And before you know it, those people becomes your patrons. They become people that begins to push you. They begin to speak positively about you, and before you know it, things will work. So support the person. That person should support the person, work the person, and be the person's greatest cheerleader. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Just one more thing. There's something you just said that just piqued my interest, and it's just making me to say a thing again. One thing that you said that resonated with me so well is this idea of I prefer to be more of an experienced person than more of a certificate person. Do you understand? Because at the long run, it's actually getting the job done, but certificate cannot really get the job done, but the experience. So my one thing is this. Okay, there's something you just said about okay wanting to leave a place. So I know we HR, most HR on an interview will be asking somebody, maybe if the person is just less than a year or a year in an organization and is leaving, and I'll be asking the person, why do you want to leave? Why would you want to leave? So my question is like, is it really why you want to leave that is more interested, or if this person can do the job by coming into your organization? So is it a bad thing when you ask me why do I want to leave? When I tell you as a professional, I know when I've overstayed or when I should leave an organization. So is it that answer? Is it a bad? Is it a wrong answer so to say? Because if you keep saying why do you want to leave, so what exactly are you asking me? I should start telling you my own experience or why I want to leave. But normally you want to hear the right, the good side. You would sincerely want to, because me, I don't ask that question, because if I ask you, You're going to tell me what I want to hear just to put yourself well in the frame of that interview. But one thing I come to do is I ask, as a professional who understand where I'm going to, I can tell when to leave a place. So I should not come and be telling you because I've enjoyed Mr. B, Mr. This, but then again, when it's not really the right thing. So is it? I just want to just say something about that around that way, please.
The question we all ask. And if there's a question you ask, I need you to stop asking people about what they are earning. You rather offer what you want to pay and let them either accept or turn it down. But
That's right.
let's talk about that, right? I belong to an HR community, and someone was giving us powerful message and said, if you see anyone on UCV, you see 3 months he jumps, 6 months he jumps. Say, red flag, don't employ the person. And I scattered ground. I said, I disagree with all of you. I said, we have very crazy work environment in Nigeria. If I left a place thinking another place is better, and I got there and the place is worse, you expect me to stay there? For my own mental health, I will run. As a matter of fact, my last 2 jobs, it may interest you to know that I spent exactly 6 months, 1 week on both jobs. 6 months, 1 week, and I left. And when I was interviewing for the last one and we got talking, I told them straight, I said, I can leave you at any time if you don't fulfill what we have agreed. And that's what I have done. And so when they said, why did you leave where you left? I said, I had a disagreement with my CEO on ethical grounds. I said, you can call him. I'll give you his number. You can call him. On ethical grounds, I believe something is right professionally. He believes otherwise. And at that point, I took a walk. And they were like, okay. And at that point, I went further to say, look, I will do the same thing with you if you don't fulfill your promises to me. And the truth is, they still did not fulfill their promises, and I have taken a walk. And I will still interview in other places, and I will still maintain the position. It is one of 2 things. It's either you don't employ me, or you choose to employ me. But every time we look for excuses, what we do is we try to convince the interviewer, trying to say sweet things to the person. No, Oga, I was badly treated. That's why I left. I felt unappreciated. It's not a crime to want to be appreciated. Be real. And when you are asked a question that you're not comfortable answering, politely say, can I please pass over that question? I'm not comfortable with it. It's as simple as that. Don't be dying to get a job at all costs. Dying to get the job is why recruiters take advantage of you. You always have a choice. You are not hopeless. There are jobs for you. Just pay attention to yourself. Develop yourself. You will be so good that they won't be able to turn you down. My last job, they had interviewed people. They had closed the portal 3 times. The person that recommended said, look, the person I recommended knows what he does. They will open the portal 3 times. I refused to apply. Why? Yorubas have a saying that when you are sure about the efficacy of your charm, you use it to hit your head because you know it works. And for me, I know that it works for me. And so I just want to encourage you, when people ask you, why are you leaving? Tell them straight what you are comfortable telling them about. Oh, see, I'm not being appreciated. Oh, I feel I have been undervalued. I'm not being well remunerated. See, I'm leaving because of more money. It's not a sin now. So why can't I say that I'm leaving because of more money? Yes, I'm leaving because of more money, because I want more money. My bills are rising up. And it's either the person is comfortable with you or not. If you interview someone like me, if you're not comfortable with someone that is very expressive, forget it. Just leave me out of it. Because me, I will tell you straight. In fact, now I'm even becoming a more gentle person. But when I was much younger, I would say it straight and will face it. So say whatever it is. But as interviewers also, there are certain things we should not be emphasizing during interviews. We shouldn't. We should just let them go, because they are not in any way connected to success or otherwise on the job. If you want someone to commit to you 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, then treat the person well. The person will not think about leaving. But even if the person has spent 15 years in one person, the person might end up spending 1 month at your place. I have people who have worked in places and they did not complete 1 month because they just felt like no, this is not what I signed up for. And people have choices to make. So yes, when people ask you, say it straight the way it is. But when you see someone leaving a place 3 months, 6 months, don't use that as a red flag. Invite the person and hear from the person's side before you make a decision. Thank you. Well, I guess this is 2:32. Our time is fast spent. I'm sure they've dropped the attendance on our groups, right? Have we all signed the attendance?
There is no attendance.
There is no attendance.
Yes, sir.
There is an attendance. Okay, I'll drop it on the channel so that everybody can see it centrally. But okay, while we're doing that, any other question?
No, from my head.
Okay, so I want to ask a question when we're still talking about culture earlier. I think I was skipped off before we went into the performance aspect. I don't know if I can still ask that.
Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, sir. All right. So let's say, for instance, now you get into an organization, not really understanding their culture. Of course, it's very possible you don't understand an organization culture before joining them. So on joining them, you now realize that what's going on. From little survey, you now realize that the kind of culture that
Hello.
is in place is not really. Can you hear me, sir?
We lost you for a few seconds, please.
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
We lost you for a few seconds.
Okay, I'm.
Hello, sir.
Please,
Okay.
go ahead.
So, sir, I am going to check this. On my group, I have my guys here.
Mr. Kayode, are you talking to?
One of the guys he said, yes, sir, I'm talking to you guys, sir. I'm talking to you, sir. So I'm saying
Yes,
that
sir.
I want to appreciate you for the way you have been able to break down. I love the way you're very practical. Like everything you have been saying, are very visible. And I love the emphasis on it's not about the qualification, the certification, it's more on your experience. How you are able to gather information, how you are able to practicalize everything you have learned. So it's not about just going to CIPM, HRPR, whatever, national or local that you are doing, but actually finding a platform to practicalize it. So I think that's where a lot of people are finding that miss. They just want to just go into that certification, which is good, but they tend to forget about that. Hey, the hands-on experience is very, very important. Theory is good, but the practical is very good. It's very good. Good. So I think I know that emphasis, and I know also the fact that a lot of us just think, oh, HR is theory. HR is just good at everything fine. But you realize that whatever system you are, there's no perfect system anywhere. It's just the way you take to be for you. So I just want to appreciate you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate that. Please make sure you sign the attendance. The form has been dropped on the channel and the general group, even if it's not in your. I've seen it on some other groups. Please, let's do that. I guess if there's no other question, it's safe to call it a day and to simply say thank you for being part of this one. I'm sure Mr. Gabriel will come back and the technical glitch he experienced will be able to sort it and we'll be able to drink from his own fountain as well. But sincerely, it's been a wonderful time with you, and I want to encourage us to please keep studying the materials. When we come to share practical experiences without having to run through plenty slides, it helps us to be very practical and answer questions. Secondly, only one group submitted the case study for last week. The case study that was shared after last week's class. And the idea really The case study is supposed to give you further insight, practical insight into how things are done. If you can go through the case studies and come up with something good, you can literally solve real life HR problems because the case studies are based on real life problems. We just remove the names of companies that had those experiences. So I'm encouraging us, let's keep participating in our groups. If you're in a group and it's only 3 of you out of 12 that are participating, don't worry. It will deliver value for you at the end of the day. Because those who don't participate will not be able to know how these decisions were arrived at, and they won't be able to. And when it gets to a point, we have a cutoff time. We will know who to retain in the program and we know who not to retain in the program. Yes, the program is free, but it's not also free because it comes at a cost. We just want everyone to be able to learn. It's not just about reading and regurgitating. It's about the practicality of the HR practice and seeing how it goes. So thank you very much for your time. And we do hope that you have a restful weekend and a fruitful week ahead. And please, we will drop another case study today. These case studies are more like textbooks, but they are more like textbooks written from people's personal experiences. And we just want you to see these problems from business perspectives and imagine you are the HR manager in that organization. What would you do? That's what the case studies are meant for. And if you understand this case study and you assimilate them, when you go for interviews, when you come for my interview, I paint scenarios. And when I paint scenario, I expect you to walk me through the process. And if you understand how these case studies are resolved and how to go about it, what it does is it just helps you to be able to walk anyone through a process. I can walk you through recruitment process. I can walk you through learning and development process. And that is what the case studies are supposed to help us develop. They are meant to help us develop a critical mindset that helps us to walk through things, look at loopholes, and be able to reach them. Trust me, running this program every Saturday has not been convenient. I am out of town. I'm in Lagos. I'm not in Abuja as we speak. I'm in an hotel room. I'm supposed to be somewhere, but we had set this to happen. So I could not see my children for these hours because I needed to be part of this program. If I am making that much commitment to this program, I expect every one of you, every participant, to also be willing to go the extra mile to make sure that we make this experience worth the while for every one of us. Thank you very much. You'll be seeing the case study for this week's class before the end of today. I do hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you. Have a wonderful
Thank you,
weekend.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Blessed weekend, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Let's be better.
Sir, bye everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the class. I so appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.